So here's a quick video. Basically, we're just going to look at some bump stop clearances and why you should always check your bump stop clearances. So, got a customer's car here, which we're just putting some dampers in the front. And if I don't know who's built them and if they're set up properly, I'll always pull the springs out and check the bump stop clearances. So essentially I've just done that at this point. It's got all new control arms, bushings, sway bar links, you know, basically a whole front end rebuild. I've just taken the springs out. So on this side I've set the clearance. Now there is no clearance. Once I pull it back out to put the spring, I'll then adjust in the clearance for the bump stop itself. But if you were to just pull these out of the box and fit them straight in the car, you would see that this car you would have some major issues. You'd end up tearing up ball joints and all sorts of stuff if you just ran them as they were out of the box. So here I've just wound up this corner that I've set the clearances on at its absolute maximum travel that you will ever need, just to make sure that when the car is at its maximum bump travel, that the wheel isn't bottoming out on the inner guards, which in this case it isn't. That noise is just the sway bar link rubbing on the rim. The maximum bump travel in this instance is determined by the upper ball joint angles. So for this car, and this is an AU Falcon, the upper ball joint determines the maximum amount of travel for the front end. So once I've worked that out, I can then adjust the damper to work out the bump stop clearances. Now, as I said earlier, I've taken all the clearance out, so there is no bump stop in there presently. I can then adjust in the thickness of the bump stop that I want later. So yeah, so this is basically how I do it. I pull the spring out, work it through its travel, and then go from there. And now I'll show you the other side. So here's the opposite side of the car, exactly as we had last time, just pushed up to its maximum bump travel. As you can see, this one, just with the spring removed, has, you know, another good, I measured it last time, it's 65 mil of bump travel on the damper left to go. However, the problem with that is that the front end of this corner is now at its maximum travels in regards to ball joints. So you know, if you're going to run over a curb or something like that, you're likely to start bending things, which is not the aim of the game. I guess really the moral here is always check your bump stop clearances. Once you've done this, you can then lock up the adjuster for the length of the damper and realistically not ever change that again. Unless you want to make it longer, you can most certainly make it longer, but you can't make it shorter. From this point on, really all your ride height changes should be done off the spring, and in a lot of cases you'll need either a tender spring or a helper spring to pick up the slack in the coil. So that's pretty much that. I guess maybe later on down the track we'll make another video on, you know, how to set up the springs and the rest of it from here. But this is just a quick little video on the only other real downside, if you can really call it a downside at all, is that when you do set up the dampers properly, you generally end up with quite a substantial amount more droop travel than what you had previously. If you have a look at the lower arm angle there of this one that's been set up, and the arm angle of this one, which is just out of the box, you can see that this side has significantly more droop travel. That in itself isn't realistically a problem. You know, you don't want the car to three-wheel realistically at all. So that's just one of the byproducts that you can end up with. Also something that you can use to your advantage.